You've just picked up a pot of basil from the supermarket and it smells amazing, it's lush and it's full of promise. You also add mint, parsley, coriander or thyme to the basket because the idea of a little indoor herb garden feels too good to pass up, doesn't it? It's not just about tonight's dinner, is it? The plan is to keep them alive for weeks, picking leaves whenever you need them and avoiding those plastic packets of cut herbs that look tired before you even open them up. It always starts with optimism. A pot of herbs on the windowsill makes the kitchen feel fresher and your cooking taste better. But then, the familiar pattern sets in. By the end of the week, the basil leaves are going brown, the coriander looks like it's been sat on, the parsley is fading fast, and the mint is straggly and turning yellow, and the thyme is drying out at the base. And it all feels like a personal failure, but it really shouldn't. The reality is that supermarket herbs are grown in a way that makes long-term survival almost impossible. There is a way to change that though. With a few quick changes when you get them home, you can turn these short-lived plants into productive herbs that last for months. Supermarket herbs look full, green and healthy when you buy them because they're grown in conditions that are close to perfect. Huge commercial greenhouses provide constant warmth, strong light, steady supply of water and regular feeding. They really are pampered specimens, aren't they? The goal is to grow a visually appealing plant quickly for sale and not to raise a resilient long-term houseplant. Basil, coriander, parsley, mint and thyme are often packed into their pots far more densely than they would ever be in a garden or nursery. Have a look at the stems the next time you buy one of these. What looks like a single lush plant from a distance is often 20 or more seedlings growing shoulder to shoulder in a small space, and none of them are happy. To make things worse, the compost is shallow in these tiny pots and the roots have nowhere to expand. Every stem is competing for the same limited resources, which puts the plant under stress from the start. Basically, supermarket herbs are timed for peak appearance at the point of sale. The grower knows that they'll only look their best for a short window. And if they last long enough for the average customer to take them home and use them in 1 or 2 meals, then the product has done its job. Long-term performance is not part of the production model. All of this comes together in a vicious circle to create plants that are fragile outside the control environment from whence they came. Without intervention, they begin to decline almost immediately. Some fade slowly over 2 or 3 weeks, while some decline in days. And this is why so many people assume that herbs are inherently short-lived indoors. The truth is though that with a few targeted changes, the same plants can live and produce for months. Now the first job with any supermarket herb is to take it out of its pot and give it room. Those little neat containers hide a problem that every plant shares. Inside is a solid block of roots. The soil is packed tight with seedlings and they're tangled together into a dense mat. There's no airspace and no fresh soil for roots to grow into, and no real chance for the plant to thrive. If these were grown for long-term survival, then they would have been thinned out when they were tiny seedlings to let the strongest ones carry on growing. Basil almost always comes with the worst crowding. A single pot can contain 30 or more seedlings. Each one is competing for light, water and nutrients, and separating them is the most important step you can take. Gently tease the seedlings apart over a tray to catch the soil, and if some roots break, then so be it. They're much more robust than you might think. Pot each seedling individually into a container about the same size as the original supermarket pot. Yep, 1 plant per pot. I mean, look at this bad boy. He's a single plant that started life in exactly the same way. Coriander needs the same treatment, but benefits from being potted in small clusters rather than single seedlings. I like to divide mine into quarters and then pot each cluster into its own pot. This provides a denser harvest while giving each plant enough space to grow. Bolting is a common problem with coriander and we'll come back to how to stop that in a jiffy. Parsley handles crowding better than basil or coriander, but it does still improve after separation. Dividing the pot into several smaller clumps reduces competition and stimulates new growth from the base. A slightly deeper pot helps support its taproot, and a rich soil mix encourages steady production. Mint is more robust and can tolerate its supermarket pot for longer, but it will perform better if given fresh soil and space to spread. If you intend to take mint outside, then keep it in its own pot to stop runners from taking over everything else. A well-draining mix and a pot about 12 cm wide gives it room without letting it become unmanageable. Thyme is usually sold with multiple woody stems crammed all together. These can be carefully separated into smaller clumps and then replanted. Good drainage is critical for thyme, so try to go for a chunkier soil mix if you can. Now after repotting, water each plant thoroughly until water drains from the base. This settles the soil and reduces transplant shock. Once a plant has room to breathe, the most important thing you can do is harvest in the right way that keeps it alive and productive. This is where most supermarket herbs fail, not because the plant can't grow, but because the way it's picked gives it no chance to recover. Most people treat fresh herbs the same way they treat a bag of cut leaves from the fridge. They see a full plant, grab the biggest leaves and pull them off one at a time. You know, a bit from the top, a bit from the side, wherever it looks good at the moment, right? And the result is a plant with odd bare patches, stretched out stems and very little energy left to regrow. The trick is to work with the plant's natural growth pattern. Every herb grows in a slightly different way, and once you understand that, you can shape it to give you more harvest for much longer. Basil grows from the tips and not from the base. Every time the growing tip is removed, the plant sends out 2 new stems from just below where you made the cut. This is the key to turning one thin, fragile stem into a bushy, leaf-covered plant. Wait until the stem has at least 2 pairs of mature leaves. Look for the bottom set and then cut the stem just above it, leaving the small leaves in the node untouched. These tiny leaves will swell into new stems, each producing more leaves on their own. Repeat this every time a stem grows another 2 pairs of leaves. The more stems it has, the more harvest you get. Coriander has a short life cycle, so every harvest counts. If it's left alone too long, it will send up a flower stalk and the leaves will become thin and bitter. To keep it in leaf production for as long as possible, harvest whole stems rather than pinching off leaves. Once a stem reaches about, 10 or 15 centimeters tall, cut it cleanly near the base just above the ground. This triggers the plant to push up new stems from the base and along the sides. Harvest from different sections each time so that the plant can recover evenly. Parsley grows from the centre outwards, so the right way to harvest it is to remove mature stems from the outer edge of the plant. Cut them right down to the soil close to where they emerge. This leaves the central stems untouched so the plant can keep producing new growth. If you only take the tops as stems, then the lower part becomes weak and yellow and overall production slows. Mint thrives on being cut back regularly. The more you harvest, the thicker and bushier it becomes. For everyday use, cut stems just above a set of leaves. This encourages 2 new shoots to form from that point. If you see flowers starting to form, then cut those right back to keep the flavour strong. Thyme grows slowly compared to basil or mint, but frequent light harvesting keeps it tender. Take green, flexible shoots rather than the woody stems and cut just above a pair of leaves to prompt new growth from that point. And avoid taking off too much from one area at a time. Instead, move around the plant, taking small cuttings from different sides so it stays well balanced and healthy. Regular trimming prevents the centre from becoming too woody and unproductive. Once your herbs are thriving, you can turn one pot into several without spending another penny. Propagation is the key to having a constant supply, and the good news is that some supermarket herbs root so easily it almost feels like cheating. Others though are more work than they're worth, so it's better to start fresh with seed or a new plant. Basil is a propagation superstar. It roots so quickly in water that it's hard to go wrong. Take a healthy stem about 10 centimeters long with a few pairs of leaves. Strip off the lower leaves so none will sit in the water, and then place the stem in a glass and keep it in bright indirect light. Within a week, fine white roots will start to form. Once they're a few centimeters long, pot them up into fresh soil. This method is so quick that you can keep a rotation going, taking a few cuttings every couple of weeks, so you always have new plants ready to replace the older ones. Mint is just as easy, if not easier. Take a 10 centimeter stem, remove the lower leaves and root it in water exactly as you would the basil. Mint usually starts rooting in under a week. Thyme takes a little bit more patience, but it's still worth doing. Use young, soft stems rather than old, woody growth. Take an 8 to 10 centimeter cutting, strip the lower leaves and plant it straight into soil. Keep the soil lightly moist and give it bright light. You will know the cuttings have roots when you tug on the stems gently and there's resistance. Coriander doesn't really root well from cuttings, and because it naturally bolts so quickly, the effort rarely pays off. The best way to keep coriander going is to sow fresh seed every couple of weeks. And parsley is pretty much the same. It's better to grow these from seed. Once your herbs are repotted, harvested properly and propagated, the way you care for them day to day will decide how long they last. Basil loves strong light. A sunny south-facing windowsill is ideal, with at least 6 hours of direct sun a day. Keep Keep it above 12 degrees Celsius at all times, avoiding cold windowsills at night. And basil needs evenly moist soil, never bone dry, and try not to go waterlogged. Water deeply when the top layer starts to dry out. Feed every 2 weeks with a balanced liquid fertiliser to keep leaves large and full of flavour. Mint tolerates a wider range of light, from bright indirect light indoors to full sun outside, though leaves are punchier with more sun. It prefers moderate warmth and will cope better with cooler nights than basil. It is a fast grower, so it does benefit from a light feed every couple of weeks through the growing season, but don't overdo it, otherwise you'll get lush leaves with weaker flavour. Thyme thrives in full sun. Indoors, give it the brightest spot you can or supplement with a grow light. It's happiest in warm, dry conditions and doesn't really appreciate that much humidity. Water sparingly, allowing the soil to dry out almost completely between waterings. Now, thyme's a slow grower and only needs a light feed every 4 to 6 weeks during active growth. Coriander likes plenty of light, but it can suffer in strong midday sun, especially indoors where heat builds up. So a bright east or west facing spot is often best. It does prefer cooler temperatures than basil or mint and bolts quickly in heat. Parsley grows best in bright light, but it will tolerate partial shade. It prefers mild conditions, it doesn't like extremes of heat or cold. Feed every 2 or 3 weeks to keep leaves green and productive for as long as possible. And that's it. You're now a herb growing machine. Check out this video next, and I'll see you there.